Welcome back to your Heat latest on FanArc. I'm Sam Shapiro. If you haven't checked out Underdog Fantasy yet, stop what you're doing right now. Check out this QR code, scan it, download the app today. Be sure to use promo code BasketballFan to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. Definitely enjoyed watching a lot of the NBA action this year because of some of the picks I've made on Underdog Fantasy. So it's definitely worth downloading the app, seeing if you'd be interested in making some of those picks as well. We talk about some potential options you could look at all throughout the week here on the channel. So be sure to tune in throughout the week to see what picks I'm making going into some certain matchups Miami has to look forward to. But again, thank you to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring today's video. Well, anyway, some of the action we're going to get into this Friday involves Miami's tough loss against Portland last night, the injury Kalal Ware is dealing with, and some interesting comments that were made about Pelle Larsson by a Golden State Warrior. But before we do that, don't forget to drop a like on this video and, of course, subscribe to our channel. We've got great daily content you don't want to miss, all right here Monday through Friday. Well, Miami now 1-2 on their 5-game West Coast road trip, falling to Portland last night, 127-110, I would say, in not so great fashion. I mean, the game was pretty close at the halftime mark, with Miami having a pretty solid first half in the grand scheme of things. 31 points in the first quarter, 32 in the second quarter, but a 39-point third quarter for Portland helped them kind of push away a little bit and kind of push Miami out of contention, unfortunately, in this matchup. Portland, pretty interesting game from a number of players. Shaedon Sharpe was the leader, I would say, in terms of at least offensive efficiency for Portland. Definitely in the second half, had a pretty slow start to the game, having a really slow, again, first half, and then really picking it up in the second half. He finished with 27 points on the matchup, 11 of 21 shooting, 5 of 9 from 3, adding 7 boards to that overall performance in that game. So Miami did a good job at least containing him in the first half, but it was really Denny of Dia who was really who picked up the slack in the first half when Sharpe was lacking. He had 18 points, I believe, at the halftime mark, and then finished the game with 20 points. So when he got quiet, Sharpe picked things up, and the tale of two halves between both of those two players really carried the way, I believe, for Portland in this game, especially on an offensive front. Two young guys really leading the way, Sharpe being 22 and Avdia being 25. I mean, to see these guys leading this Portland team. And mind you, Portland came into this game pretty hot, which personally I don't think I gave them enough credit for when matching up against Miami. In their 10 games prior to this one, 8 of 2 for Portland. So, again, on a little bit of a hot streak. I think this is the first time in a few seasons that Portland has been over 500 at this point in the season right now. So, got to give them credit when credit's due. They had Drew Holiday also have a solid performance in this game, 15 points, 7 assists. In my opinion, one of the best two-way guards the league still has to offer, even at 35 years old. But I feel like I'm giving Portland too much love, at least in terms of how they did in this game. Adebayo still had a really solid game, 32 points, 10 rebounds, 13 of 24, so definitely the Bam we're used to seeing back in full force against Portland last night. Obviously without Hero in the mix and Ware not in the mix as well. I'm going to get into his situation a little bit later in this episode. But other than that, there wasn't really anybody else, I would say, that kind of stood out for me in terms of how Miami played. I mean, Wiggins shot the ball well, 6 of 9, had 14 points. I mean, Powell still finished with 18 on 7 of 15 shooting. But I feel like for Powell, that's a little bit more of a quiet night in comparison to what we've seen him do as he's been averaging around 24 points per game this season on very efficient shooting. But outside of those guys, I mean, there wasn't really anybody on Miami that I thought stood out in terms of having a show-stopping performance, so to speak. Simone Fontecchio was actually in the game tonight, or at least that's how it appeared to be. 17 points. He had 3 deep balls for Miami, 3 3-pointers. But, it was unfortunate to see Larsson starting lineup, 6 points. Another opportunity for him to step up without Hero in the lineup. Didn't really come to fruition for him. So one thing that really killed Miami, and I hate to keep bringing this up, but it's just at this point, it's such a nagging issue to me that if Miami could just at least get it to a more consistent place, I think a lot of games would shape up better for them where they're not getting blown out by 17 points against the Portland Trailblazers. It's the outside scoring. I hate to say it again. I really do. But 20% from three, and as a team making 9 threes, I mean, there are some, if you look at Portland's starting five, at least two out of their 5 starters combined in Sharp and Kamara, they had 8 threes, just the 2 of them. And Miami as a team can't even make 10? Like, it's not like we don't have any outside scorers. Bam at least has developed his three-point shot a little bit more and has been using it more this season in comparison to what we've seen him do throughout his career. Fontecchio, solid 3-and-D guy off the bench. Yakuchones was in the starting lineup. He only had 1 3. Norman Powell, 0 for 7 from the outside. I mean, it's not like we don't have outside scorers, but when they're putting up minimal numbers like that, I mean, Fontecchio was the leading outside scorer. I mean, Myron Gardner was pretty solid with 2 threes of his own, but it'd be nice to at least see everyone on Miami have 1 or 2 threes, because if that was the case, we would have at least made more than 10 in this game. It's ridiculous. It's got to be cleaned up. And I think that if, especially the team you're going up against, when they can at least shoot 40% from 3. I mean, Portland turned the ball over, I think, 15 times in this game, at least. We turned the ball over 15 times. Portland turned the ball over 18 times. I mean, we're losing by 17 and they turn the ball over 18 times. Like, I'm not saying 3-pointers are the reason why, but it definitely helps Portland not have to dig themselves out of a hole. And it's harder for Miami to do so when you can't hit your outside shots. Drop in the comments what you guys think Miami needs to do to fix their outside scoring, because this has been a consistent problem all season long where they either shoot great and they score 120, 130, 140 points, or they shoot terrible from outside and they're scraping by with 110, 115 is still not bad, but 110, 105, under 100 points, because they're just, I'm going to stop talking about it because I feel like a broken record at this point, but they've got to fix the outside scoring. They've got to find a way to at least, clean up that part of their game in some regard. Shifting gears, we're going to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video over at Underdog Fantasy. Fast breaks, buzzer beaters, and block parties are back, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, steals, and more. Get your picks right and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. This week on Underdog, I'm looking at tonight's matchup with the Houston Rockets taking on the Detroit Pistons, and I'm selecting Kevin Durant for higher than 25.5 points and Cade Cunningham for higher than 26.5 points. Download the app today and use promo code BASKETBALLFAN to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. Again, that's promo code BASKETBALLFAN. It's all on Underdog. Make picks, win money.
Must be 18 plus. 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska. 19 plus in Colorado for some games. 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. And present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/play and get terms DFSTML for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 helpline at 1-878 or text HOMI 467-369.
Kel'el Ware did not suit up for Miami's game against Sacramento, and he was also out in last night's matchup against Portland. According to Anthony Chang, he's actually back in Miami getting treatment for his hamstring injury that, at least from the reports I saw, are suggesting that he is not going to be returning to the team for the rest of this West Coast road trip, which Glad he's in Miami, at least getting treatment. I know it was initially reported as hamstring tightness. We haven't seen at least anything as far as I'm concerned regarding as to this injury maybe being more serious. I'm hoping it's not going to keep him sidelined for more than the 4 games, if assuming he's going to miss the rest of the West Coast road trip at this point. I think it's pretty likely now that he's back in Miami getting treatment, not still on the road getting that, treatment, whatever it may be, with the team right now. But very unfortunate to see him at least, have to leave this road trip, just because I feel like it upgrades the seriousness of what this injury could potentially look like. Hopefully not anything long term, but it would have been nice at least to have him suit up for the game against Utah. Phoenix, yes, would also be nice as well. Not good to see any Miami Heat player go down because of a nagging injury, and I don't think this one has necessarily been nagging, but, it was definitely concerning to see that Kel'el Ware, I would say pretty definite, going to miss the next 2 games at least for Miami, now after missing his second consecutive game last night. And I'm just hoping that he's going to be all right. Anyway, shifting gears to the last segment in this Friday's show, revolving some comments Draymond Green made, kind of piggybacking off of Pelle Larsson and how he was able to kind of get in the heads of DeMar DeRozan, but also Devin Booker in the 2 recent matchups Miami had with Phoenix and then the Sacramento Kings this week. Draymond Green basically saying, in terms of him watching how that all transpired, he said, my take on that is, I've played a bunch of Europeans. They do little dirty stuff. I think that was kind of a little bit of an ignorant thing to say. Now, he did preface and say a lot of European players he had played with are typically like that. And at least from the tone and how he was saying it, wasn't generalizing and saying that all European players are dirty like that. But I still think it's a little bit of an ignorant thing to say. There are dirty players all across the NBA from everywhere. And to kind of just narrow it down on that clear, or just narrow it down on one specific, point and say that's the clear-cut definitive, and there's no surprise why Booker and DeRozan got rattled, was because a lot of European players do dirty stuff, so that's got to be the reason why they both equally got upset. For all you know, he could be smack-talking him. He could have a really good tactic to get in his head, and Draymond Green definitely, I feel like, gave him, I think, a little bit of credit, going, whatever he's doing on the court, it's definitely working in terms of getting into the head of his opponents. But Pelle Larsson's also a really scrappy, aggressive player on the floor, taking the charge left and right, taking a beating night in and night out. He sacrifices his body on a lot of plays. I wouldn't say that's a dirty player. And if you're smart enough to get whoever you're matching up against, if you're smart enough to get in their head, get them rattled, throw them off their game, I think that's all part of the game. And for Draymond Green, of all people, to say that, that's honestly what makes it the most hilarious to me. Draymond Green also said, I wouldn't consider myself a dirty player. I consider myself, more of a fighter or a scrapper. At least that was kind of the undertone, or at least the tone I felt like he was talking about himself. Draymond, are you kidding me? Any NBA player that is looking for a fight in a game, I personally would consider it a dirty play. I would consider that dirty play at least. Why are you looking for an argument? Isn't the whole goal to win the game? If you want to go play a sport where there's fighting, go play hockey, or there are plenty of, mixed martial arts sports where you could take out all your unhinged energy on somebody else. You don't need to do that on a basketball court, man. And to say that, Larsson, again, whatever he was doing, whatever tactics or XYZ was no surprise, because he's seen a lot of European players play dirty. I don't know. This comment made me think of Zaza Pachulia, because, a lot of people said that he also played very dirty, which is a very fair argument, I would say, in terms of Zaza. But I don't know. I just remember as a kid watching the series with Golden State and the Spurs and Zaza closing out on Kawhi turning his ankle on that closeout, and then San Antonio pretty much losing the series after Kawhi went down after that. But do I think that move was dirty? We'll never know if it was intentional or not. The only person that'll know that is Zaza. So, I mean, if he intentionally did that, then yes, I'd say it's a dirty play. But going off of that, I still think it's crazy for Draymond Green to say a lot of European players are dirty, because there are dirty European players, there are dirty American players. Dirty players come from everywhere. So to hone it in on one specific group is, in my opinion, a little bit silly and shouldn't really be looked at, seriously, to be completely honest with you. But drop in the comments what you guys would consider a dirty player, because I don't think Pelle Larsson is a dirty player. I think he's, on the contrary, quite scrappy and would take at least a charge for his team. That's going to do it for this Friday's episode of Your Heat Latest on FanArc. Don't forget to drop a like on this video, and if you haven't already, click that subscribe button. We've got great daily content you don't want to miss, all right here, Monday through Friday. Thanks again so much for joining us. I'm Sam Shapiro. Hope you guys have a great weekend.